speaker, our presenter. You guys are going to be honored. She's a colleague. We came to Cal State San Bernardino probably about 5 years ago. We came in together as lecturers. She's a full-time lecturer from the communication department. And I am honored to introduce Dr. Jess Nerren. And I wanted to mention, I get to say doctor because she just successfully defended her dissertation this term.
She was my chair. Hi, everyone. Okay, so I am a technology person, so I'm just making sure that my technology is cooperative, and then I have some instructions for you to play along, all right? So let me just make sure that we're working here. Perfect. Okay, so hi, hello. This is a two-screen experience. So I know it's been a really long day. I really appreciate all of you sticking it out with me here today. And I encourage you to go ahead and scan that QR code over there. You'll actually have the same slides and then some bonus fun stuff on your devices, which I am honored if you have in front of you while I talk today, all right? So thank you, thank you, thank you. So last talk of the day. Wow, thank you for sticking it out and being here today and making the time to join me. And thank you to Dr. Sambera for the very kind introduction. She was my dissertation chair. So I'm a doctor today because of her, and she is just the most amazing, talented human I know. What we're gonna do today, right? I'm gonna start with an introduction and a thank you, and then we're gonna talk about how communication can drive policy to close opportunity gaps. And then we're gonna go into the micro level, the macro big picture about why this matters. I'm gonna tell you a little bit about my study in brief, and then we're gonna do a little activity, and then we will be done, all right? So I'm gonna try to keep it right under 20 minutes. But I have to start with a thanks to all of you here today. Each of you, every single educational leader in the room today, thank you. Thanks to the College of Ed and the Dean of the College of Ed for their support of my educational journey, and to President Morales and Provost McMahon for their leadership of our institution, and to my chair, Dr. Sambera, because she's the best ever, and my committee members, Dr. Ahlam Mutaseb and Dr. Erica Howell. Thank you to the amazing professors and teachers and faculty in the room today who have given so much to so many with your presence and your wisdom and your experience. And to the educational leaders, you make education a place that creates so much opportunity for so many. State Superintendent Tony Thurman, Senator Levia, and Senator Ochoa Bogue, thank you. To you all, your life's work has given my family a tremendous gift. You've given us the opportunity to rise above adversity, to become empowered as individuals, as a family, and as community members. So I'm Jess. I'm a professor here at Cal State San Bernardino. I got hired the same time as Dr. Sambera, and I've been teaching here for about half a decade, full-time. Right? I'm a teacher, a scholar, and a practitioner, and I'm speaking to you today as a researcher who just completed years of research on the topic related to closing the opportunity gaps for students with special needs, including individuals with autism. And you see, I have a unique lens, aside from being short and needing to adjust the mic, because I'm invested in this. So that's my son over there on the screen. Right? He's a person who is an individual with autism and a survivor of cancer. So yes, I see your tag. I see it. Okay, we're gonna have to talk later, right? But I have vicariously witnessed and seen and lived through some of his journeys, both his ups and his downs, as I've been completing my own educational journey, right? And he's the world's most adorable small human, now big human, right? But he's a student here, right? You might recognize our buddy, Assemblymember Medina. His dream of going to Stanford one day, right? He's a junior now, he's in 3 AP classes. is parallel to my own, right? Completing my doctorate. And this year, I did complete my doctorate with a 4.0 ahead of schedule while teaching full-time and wrangling him. So thank you. It's crazy. I can't even believe it, right? But I owe it to Cal State San Bernardino. They made my dream possible. They made this possible for my family, right? Because higher ed changed my life and my son's life, I'm committed to showing up in the effort to pay it forward for others, including the often marginalized population of individuals with autism and closing the opportunity gap for students with special needs. Next page. But it's important to begin by thanking you, because you've empowered me to transcend limits that I took for granted and assumed to be fact, right? My journey has not always been easy. You have enabled me to show up for the communities that I care about, and you have helped me overcome challenges I did not choose, but that made us stronger and better through education. So I thank you. All right, so I want to move on with the importance of centering the voices of individuals, okay, including individuals with autism, in the effort to shorten to close the opportunity gaps. And what's important here is this is about being intentional about setting the stage to engage, right? Centering individual voice. This talk today is about providing you a framework to understand how to build communication practices that drive policy and practice. We can do more to hear the voices of individuals, okay? They are unique and brilliant and complex, and there's so much there, and we have the opportunity to center their voices in their journey, okay? And this is not about inclusion theory. This is not merely a normative, right? This is about building the communication that is really necessary to see ability differently than we have over the past 100 years or more, right? Our history and our relationship with ability and disability in our schools has the opportunity to grow and move on from where it is currently. And so this is what my talk is about, all right? So let's begin. I'm going to sprinkle little aspects of my dissertation throughout this. Here's one that I'm going to sprinkle. We're going to begin with hearing the voice through song of an individual with autism. I might need some tech help with this, but we're going to do it. We're going to get there.
Don't you be so afraid of what they say. You got the power to make it your own way. If you keep on hiding and don't speak up, they'll just say, no, enough is enough. Speak out and say what's on your mind, and by then you'll know that you'll be just fine. Oh yeah, you got a voice. It's all up to you. It's your mind that speaks when dreams come true. Pick up a dream catcher and just be cool. You got a heart in your soul when dreams come true.
All right, I'm going to pause it there. I did that. It's all good. All right, so those are my friends from the Miracle Project, and they also helped me become a doctor today, all right? They have performed in the White House and in Carnegie Hall and in the United Nations multiple times, and they are about celebrating their difference as an asset rather than a deficit, right? And if you look at the lyrics of my friend Dom's song, and you might, for those of you who watch Atypical, you might recognize him because he has a recurring role on that show on Netflix, which is the best ever. But what he says, right, is speak out and say what's on your mind. You've got a voice. It's up to you. And what this means to me is that individuals are speaking out, right? They are encouraging each other within the community to share their information with us. And so it is incumbent upon us to rise to the opportunity that they are providing us to hear their voice, right? And what happens when we hear their voice? What happens when we hear their assets, right? Their difference as an asset. We started with an individual voice, positivity, and framing of unique ability as an asset rather than a deficit, right? We increase the chances of meeting student needs and closing the gap. And by hearing the voices of individuals, it naturally changes our values and beliefs about ability, right? And it takes less than we think. And this is a beautiful thing, right? When you think about professional development and all of the time commitment that all of you spent today, which is so beautiful and amazing, this is not possible every day, right? But some of these things can happen in these small glimpses and moments, and they can be this incredible tool for success and for closing the opportunity gap, right? And here's what I want to say from my research and from my own lived experience, right? Brilliance comes from everywhere. My friend Dom, who you just heard, is brilliant. That was his first original song, right? And he sang it within my study to my study participants as well, right? Brilliance is everywhere. And brilliance itself is different. Each one of you in this room is brilliant in your own unique, different way, right? Brilliance is evenly distributed. Just sometimes, if you're also an individual with special needs, there can be some big speed bumps along the way. But that doesn't mean that brilliance discriminates, right? Brilliance itself is inclusive, right? Everyone with me so far? Nod at me if you're with me. All right, cool, awesome. I just wanted to make sure. All right, and we need inclusion, right? We are here to close the opportunity gaps for all students, including our students with special needs, because inclusion is brilliant too. Okay, so let us start now. Let us start today. Let us be as brilliant as inclusion and as inclusive as brilliance. Because let me tell you the opposite. The opposite is this. The opposite is that when brilliance is everywhere, it's everywhere ... with an asterisk. And that is not the world that we live in. We don't say brilliance is everywhere except somewhere. Brilliance is everywhere, right? That is the purpose of our life's work. That is the purpose of this educational leadership journey we are all on, is to celebrate the inclusivity of brilliance and the brilliance of inclusivity, right? So let us start today with including people of unique abilities, including those with autism, okay? So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my study, the really fast version, because it was not fast, all right? I'm skipping you ahead to page 270 of a brutally long 300-page dissertation. So you're welcome. And thank you to Dr. Sambera, who dealt with the first 270 pages, right? But the scholarly stuff is there, right? So what happened in my study is this, okay? We took individuals who prepare teachers, and we connected them directly with individuals with autism from the Miracle Project, people who are living these incredibly empowered lives and lifting up their voices. We put them together and we looked at and we qualitatively measured what differences happened, right? We asked, what does it mean when this happens? How do we see this different? And if we help provide this important firsthand information to the folks who prepare our teachers, where does that go? And what cool things can we do with that, right? So of course all the scholarly stuff was there, though we didn't take it into the focus group itself. It was backgrounded, it was in terms of education and leadership, of course, including teacher education, credentialing standards, special education law, teacher education reform, clinical models, communication, PR, framing theory, advocacy, critical race theory, critical pedagogy, disability studies, discrit, critical public relations, and tribal crit. So just as Dr. Murillo said earlier, right, we need to get out of our silos. So yes, I made the mistake of making a multidisciplinary dissertation. Yes, I'm really, really glad I did, because I'm standing here today and I have some useful information to share with you, but there was a lot that went into it, right? But one of the things that we know without a doubt is that teachers in these general ed settings, they call out for more preparation for inclusion in general education for our population. You are my most favorite audience member right now. Thank you. I know that I am felt because I see the nods. I love it. But it's true, right? And the research backs it up. And if you've been in a classroom, maybe you've found yourself sometimes where it's like, all right, I have this, every single year my son's the first, right? My son goes in and the teacher says, I've never had a person with autism before. Tell me something I need to know. Every single year. He's in 11th grade. Every single year, right? So if you've ever felt that, you're not alone, right? But the question is, what can we do better, right? How can we make it so that a teacher feels different than this, right? So we ask these questions, right? If we provide different information, are there different outcomes? And we looked at it in terms of framing, which is really the stuff that happens before perception, right? The frame, and then perception, and then action. So we looked at what happens if we provide the stuff that leads to the other stuff. And we found some very cool pieces of information, right? Before, there was a mix of asset and deficit frames, right? I want to, and I'm busy. I want to, and I don't feel supported. I should, and here's some barriers I'm experiencing. And also kind of a genericness, a lumping together, right, of autism with all disability and all unique needs, even stemming, like going beyond special ed in general, right? And I see the head nod. Some of you have heard this before, right? And then after we reframed, after we connected people with individuals and centered the individual voice, what we actually saw was a much greater specificity, an increase in proposed solutions and related to social construction, right? And this was really important and really powerful, and it was a decrease in deficit thinking. And I can show you this in picture form. So our red is our asset, right? Our red went through the roof. Our red kept increasing. Our asset-based thinking kept increasing. Our deficit thinking continued to decrease. And related to the same idea of inclusion for each or inclusion for all, inclusion for all was great because our teachers are really good and our professors are really good and they're the ones who made me a doctor and we know that they're great. But also, it was more generic for all than it was for each related to autism as a particular and distinct, unique need, okay? And of course, because people are busy, but also it's such a unique need that what this population might need might be the exact opposite of what another population might need. So for all sometimes doesn't work for autism, right? It has to be for autism. So what does it mean? It means that by doing small things, we have the power to make this change, and that each of us plays a role in inclusion, and that there are manageable tools grounded in theory available now. And there's really good news that goes along with this, right? Is it doesn't take that much time. It really doesn't, right? My study took place over 2 45-minute sessions, right? This process is fast. There's a model for this. I won't bore you here, but I'll show it to you just so that you believe me. But there is a model for this, and it's grounded in theory, and it involves doing fun things like hearing from my friend Dom here sing his truth to us. And I want to work collaboratively with you on this, right? I call for collaboration so that we can do more of this, right? The groundwork has been laid, and there is a corresponding curriculum that's been developed that is ready to go, that I would love to work with each of you where we can take this out. Because one of the things at the end of my study was each professor who participated said, I want to get this to my teacher candidates now, right? And so we're also laying the foundation with districts so that we can get it out to new teachers now, right? So please, let's stay in touch, right? This is my shameless plug, but I want to do this. This is not even my job. My job is to teach in my own classroom. Like, I want to do this because I'm passionate about it, because it's my lived experience, right? So I've got cards over there. I've got my executive summary over there. Like, grab it. Let's collaborate, okay? Because the truth is this. We all care about unique populations, but we may not talk with them sometimes as much as we talk about them. Right? And we have the opportunity to do both and to do more. So these are my tips, right, to some. Okay, the tips for closing the opportunity gap based on my research is to center the voices of individuals. Speak with, not about, or speak more with than about. Remember context and history, and positivity really works, right? The outcomes and benefits and positive aspects of this particular approach are that it's time effective, it's positively based, it's constructive, it's actionable, and it produces a measurable shift in perception, which then leads to action, right? So we're gonna do a little activity, so if you didn't break out your phone before, do it now, please, please, please. You get to meet my little guy really briefly, and he's gonna invite you to leave us with some questions, right? If we're gonna talk more with than about, let's put down, we'll have an activity, we'll talk with our friends, and here's my son Royce to introduce the activity.
Hi, my name's Royce Fallon. One thing I really like about school is the really cool school library and the great librarian they have there. I'd like to thank all my educators for all the help that they've given me. So ask me if you have any questions. I'd be happy to help.
So it's a think, pair, share. I want you to talk to your neighbors. Get up, stretch, like get the wiggles out. It's been a while, right? But you're going to buddy up with a partner, introduce yourselves, and discuss a question about ability or inclusion or about autism or about surviving cancer or about closing the opportunity gaps that you've always wondered or never asked specifically to an individual themselves, right? At that point, you're going to have a place where this is anonymously going to go. And within 48 hours, there's going to be a unique individual who's going to answer your questions and put an answer of their own, right, from their own unique perspective, but it's going to be available back to you, okay? So take the next 5 minutes, chat with each other, and I'll come check back in with you. Yeah. But you can't input the answers from this screen, so we'll flip there and then flip back. All right, so maybe about 1 more minute. Get your questions in. They're popping up here. It looks great. All right, so we're going to come back together. I'm so excited to check out your questions, and those questions I'll leave this screen up after the presentation, so there will be answers there provided. I'm not going to go through all of them now, but please know that part of centering the voice of individuals is that this is going to be answered by a unique individual themselves. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I love that everyone's talking. This is so good. We're actually like having the opportunity to communicate. This is important, right? Every single one of you are doing the study right now. You are receiving a little sprinkling of what the study was about, right? Because we're talking about inclusion. We're talking about the things that maybe we've never actually centered the voice of a unique individual before, and you just centered the voices of unique individuals, right? Which recalibrates our own perceptions of inclusion, especially if you go on and check your answers within 48 hours, right? All right, so almost done. Love it, love it, love it. We started the conversation, right? Here is let us all be as inclusive as brilliance, because brilliance is everywhere, including among individuals of unique abilities. It is our job to make space for the inclusive brilliance we have all around us. We can do that by opening the lines of communication, and we can every single day make a profound difference in closing the opportunity gap for unique individuals through this method of centering student voice of unique individuals. Thank you so much. That was my talk, and I look forward to staying in touch with each of you.
Thank you, Dr. Nerren, for that presentation. That concludes our conference.
Bye.